Tonight the house is quiet and so am I. The dishes are done or they aren't. The messages are answered or they wait until morning. And in this small, unremarkable moment I stop. I lay my hand over my chest and I feel it rise and fall. And I remember that this breath was never mine to begin with. It was given to me before I ever asked for it. So tonight, Divine, I bring you the whole of me. The tired body, the racing mind, the soul that has been running on fumes for longer than I've admitted out loud, even to myself. I don't come to you polished. I come to you as I am. The ache in my shoulders from carrying what wasn't mine to carry. The fog behind my eyes from thinking the same worried thought 100 times over. The quiet, hollow place in my chest that no one else can see because I've gotten so good at hiding it. You already know all of this. You knew it before I found the words. So I won't pretend tonight. I'll just be honest, and I'll let that honesty be my prayer. Sacred presence, gather close to me now. Gather close to everyone listening who is tired in ways they haven't named. The ones nursing a body that won't cooperate. The ones whose minds won't stop spinning past midnight. The ones whose spirits feel thin and stretched, like fabric worn down from too much use. We are here. We are willing. We are asking for what only you can give. Healing that reaches all the way through, body, mind and soul. Not as three separate things, but as one weary person finally exhaling for what feels like the first time in weeks. Let this be a pause that matters. Not a scroll past, not background noise while the mind stays elsewhere, but a real stop. A moment where we set down our phones, close our eyes if we're able, and simply arrive. Wherever you are right now, in a bed you've grown tired of staring at, in a car in a parking lot because it's the only quiet place left in a loud day, in a chair by a window at an hour when the world has finally gone still, you are welcome here. This prayer was written for exactly this moment, and exactly you and no one else. Great light. Some of us are healing from something with a name, a diagnosis, a surgery, a body that has been through more than it should have to bear in a single lifetime. Some of us are healing from something without a name at all, a slow leak of energy nobody can quite explain, a persistent worry that hums under everything we do, a grief that never quite got processed because life kept moving and never asked our permission to slow down. Whatever shape our tiredness takes tonight, we bring it to you honestly, without needing to explain it or defend it or prove that it's bad enough to deserve your attention. You already understand, and you never needed convincing. Some of us are here because a doctor used a word we didn't expect to hear this year. Some of us are here because we've been functioning so well on the outside that no one thinks to ask how we're really doing underneath it. Some of us are here simply because it's been a long stretch of ordinary hard days, the kind that don't make headlines, but wear a person down all the same, one small disappointment at a time. Whoever we are tonight, whatever brought us to this prayer, we belong here just as we are, without needing to earn a place at this table. Maybe you clicked on this prayer out of habit, or out of desperation, or out of a curiosity you can't quite explain. However you arrived on purpose, and this moment is no accident. Let yourself stay a little longer than you planned to. Let yourself receive what's being offered here, even if receiving isn't something that comes easily to you these days. So let's begin. Let's breathe. Let's turn our hearts, however unsteady, toward the one place that has never once turned away from us. Creator, before I ask you for anything, let me first put down what I've been holding. I lay down the ache in this body, the joints that complain when I stand up too quickly, the sleep that doesn't come easily no matter how tired I am, the fatigue that sits on my chest like a stone I didn't choose to pick up, but somehow have to carry anyway. I lay it here at your feet, because I was never meant to hold it alone, and because I'm tired of pretending I'm not tired, tired of the performance of being fine. I lay down the noise in my mind, the arguments I replay long after they've ended, rewriting my side to make it sharper, the worries about money and health and the people I love that circle back no matter how many times I set them down. I lay down the endless mental list of everything I haven't finished yet, the emails unanswered, the calls I owe someone, the version of myself I keep promising I'll become tomorrow. I lay down the nights I've spent staring at the ceiling doing math I can't win, running scenarios that never happened, borrowing tomorrow's trouble to suffer through tonight instead of just resting. I lay all of it down. I don't need to keep carrying what was never mine to solve alone at 2 in the morning. Lay down the weariness in my soul, the quiet erosion that happens when a person gives and gives without ever being refilled in return. The disappointment I've swallowed so many times, it started to feel like the normal way to feel. The grief I never gave myself permission to fully feel, because someone else's pain always seemed louder, more urgent, more deserving of the room. Divine, I lay it down, all of it. The body's ache, the mind's noise, the soul's slow fade. I release my grip, finger by finger, and I ask you to hold what I can no longer hold alone tonight. We surrender the fear that this tiredness is permanent, the quiet, creeping thought that says this is just who I am now, that rest is for other people, that healing happens to everyone except me. We surrender the shame some of us carry for even needing to ask for help, as if struggling were a failure instead of simply being human in a hard season. We surrender the pressure to seem fine when we are not fine, the smile we perform in rooms full of people who would probably understand if we just told them the truth, if we just let the mask slip for one honest moment. We surrender the comparison too, the habit of measuring our healing against someone else's timeline, wondering why they seem to bounce back while we're still limping along months or years later. Everybody heals differently. Every mind carries a different weight, shaped by a different history. Every soul has its own season, its own pace, its own particular way of coming back to life. We release the comparison, and we ask instead for peace with our own pace, our own process, our own particular road. We surrender the guilt of resting. So many of us have learned somewhere along the way that stillness has to be earned, that we only deserve rest after everything is finished, and everything is never finished. Tonight we release that lie. Rest is not a reward we haven't yet qualified for. It is a need as basic and as sacred as breath. And we surrender the voice that tells us otherwise. We surrender control. The exhausting belief that if we just worry hard enough, plan carefully enough, brace for every possibility, we can somehow prevent pain from finding us again. We can't, we never could. And tonight, we set that impossible job down. Because it was never ours to carry in the first place, we surrender the exhaustion of pretending we have it all figured out. Some of us have been the strong one for so long, for a family, for a team, for friends who lean on us in their own hard seasons, that we've forgotten how to let anyone hold us in return. Tonight, we set down the role of the strong one, just for these few minutes, and we let ourselves simply be tired, cared for, and human. We surrender the old wounds that resurface at the worst times, the ones we thought we'd already dealt with, the ones that show up again in a moment of stress as though no time has passed at all. We release the weight of thinking we should be further along by now. Healing takes the time it takes, and we stop punishing ourselves for a timeline we never agreed to. Holy Spirit of all things, take what we've laid down. We don't ask you to erase our struggles as though they never happened, as though the hard year or the hard week or the hard hour simply gets deleted. We ask you to meet us inside them, to sit with us in the waiting room, to walk with us through the slow physical therapy and the mornings that start heavier than they should, to stay close during the nights when our minds won't quiet and our chests feel tight with a worry we can't quite name or explain to anyone else. Surrender isn't giving up. It's finally letting someone stronger than us carry what we were never built to carry alone. And now, source of all healing, hear the heart of this prayer. Come to this body first. You know it better than I do. Every place it aches, every place it's tired, every small failure it experiences that no one else can see from the outside. That I've learned to hide behind a steady voice and a normal face. Fill me with strength where I have grown weak. Restore what has been depleted by stress, by illness, by simply living through days that asked more of me than I had left to give. If there is inflammation, calm it. If there is exhaustion, lift it, even a little. If there is pain that has become an unwelcome roommate in my daily life, one that never quite leaves, soften its grip even if only for tonight, even if only enough to let me finally sleep. I don't ask for a miracle with no effort of my own. I ask for the strength to keep showing up for my own healing, to take the medication I've been forgetting, to drink the water my body's been quietly begging for, to rest when rest is what's actually needed, instead of pushing through out of guilt or fear of falling behind. Let me listen to this body instead of resenting it for slowing me down. Let me treat it like something sacred, something you made with intention, instead of something broken that I'm merely tolerating until it improves on its own. For those listening who are recovering from surgery, from illness, from an injury that changed how their days look and how their bodies move, divine be near. Steady their hands, lengthen their patience. Let each small improvement, even the ones too small for anyone else to notice or celebrate, feel like the genuine victory it actually is. Let them not measure their worth by how quickly they heal, but know that their worth was never in question in the first place, not for a single day of this recovery. For those managing a chronic condition, something that doesn't resolve on a tidy timeline, something they will carry in some form for a long while yet, grant them endurance for the long road, and moments of real relief scattered generously along the way. Let them find community instead of isolation, understanding instead of judgment, and let them never feel forgotten simply because their healing takes longer than the people around them expected. For those who look healthy on the outside, but are quietly exhausted on the inside, whose struggle doesn't show up in a scan or a test result divine, validate what others may overlook. Let them know their fatigue is real even when it's invisible, that their pain counts even without a name for it yet, and that they don't need anyone else's permission to rest or to seek care. For those whose bodies have changed in ways they're still learning to accept, through age, through illness, through the simple passage of time, grant them gentleness toward themselves. Let them release the comparison to who they used to be, and instead find a quiet respect for a body that has kept them alive through every single day so far, even the hardest ones. Bless the hands of the doctors, nurses and healers who tend to bodies in need. Give them wisdom in their diagnoses, steadiness in their care, and compassion that doesn't wear thin no matter how long their days become. Let those of us who are healing feel truly seen by the people entrusted with our care, not just processed, not just another chart on a busy afternoon. Now come to this mind. Quiet the noise that has taken up residence here, the anxious loop, the catastrophic thinking, the exhausting habit of trying to control things that were never mine to control in the first place. Grant me clarity where there has been confusion. Grant me calm where there has been static, that low hum of worry that never fully switches off. When my thoughts spiral toward the worst-case version of everything, gently interrupt that spiral and remind me that I am safe in this present moment, even if the future is still uncertain. Even if I can't see what's coming next, let me sleep tonight, really sleep. The kind that restores instead of the shallow, restless kind that leaves me more tired than before I lay down. Quiet the mental replay of old conversations that don't need replaying anymore. Quiet the rehearsal of arguments that haven't happened yet and may never happen at all. Let my mind finally understand that it's allowed to rest, that vigilance isn't the same thing as safety, and that some things are simply not mine to solve at 2 in the morning. Staring at a ceiling that has no answers to give me, grant me focus where my mind has scattered, the unfinished tasks, the half-read messages, the meetings I walk into only half present because some part of me is still somewhere else entirely, still stuck on a worry from hours ago. Let me be here, fully here, in whatever room I find myself in, instead of splitting myself across a dozen anxious threads that never quite get resolved. For those whose minds carry heavier weight than a single prayer can lift on its own. The ones living with anxiety that colors every hour of every day. The ones whose thoughts have grown dark or hopeless. The ones who feel like their own mind has become an unsafe place to be. A place they can't escape even when they close their eyes. Sacred presence. Meet them exactly there in that exact darkness, without flinching away from it. Let them feel even for a moment that they are not alone in it. And gently, persistently, nudge them toward the professional support and the human connection that can walk beside them through it in ways a prayer alone cannot. Let this prayer be a comfort, not a replacement for the help they may need, and let them find the courage to reach for both, the sacred and the practical together. Grant relief to those whose minds race the moment the lights go out, who lie awake rehearsing tomorrow's meetings or yesterday's regrets, whose bodies are exhausted while their thoughts refuse to slow down and match. Let sleep come to them, actual sleep, the deep kind that repairs instead of the light kind that leaves a person groggy and unrested by morning. For the mind that has grown used to bracing for bad news, that flinches at a ringing phone or an unread message, gently retrain that instinct. Let calm become the default again instead of the exception. Let ordinary moments feel ordinary again, without the undercurrent of dread that anxiety so often adds to them. Grant clarity to those making difficult decisions right now about treatment, about work, about relationships, about what comes next. Quiet the noise long enough for wisdom to be heard. Let them trust their own judgment again, gently, one decision at a time, instead of second-guessing everything before it's even been tried. Now come to this soul. Refill what has been poured out for so long without pause. So many of us give to our families, our work, our responsibilities, the people who lean on us in ways they may never fully realize, until there is a hollow place where our own spirit used to sit full and steady. Fill that hollow place, great light. Remind my soul what it feels like to be nourished instead of merely surviving from one obligation to the next. Restore the parts of me that have gone numb from overuse, my capacity for joy, for wonder, for gratitude that isn't forced or performed for someone else's benefit. Heal the grief I've been carrying quietly, in the margins of ordinary days, the losses I never fully mourned because life demanded I keep moving, the relationships that ended without closure or explanation, the version of myself I used to be before circumstances slowly wore me down. Let me grieve what still needs grieving, and let that grief become soft instead of sharp over time, the way a scar eventually stops hurting even though it never fully disappears. Let me forgive what needs forgiving, including myself, especially myself, for the mistakes I keep replaying as though they define the whole of who I am. Restore my sense of purpose when it feels distant or foggy. Remind me why I keep going, even on the days the reasons are hard to find, hard to name, hard to hold on to. Let me feel, even briefly, that my life has meaning beyond what I produce or accomplish or prove to other people, that I am valuable simply because I exist, simply because you made me, simply because breath still moves through me tonight, unearned and undeserved and given anyway. For everyone listening whose soul feels tired in a way that's hard to explain to people who haven't felt it themselves, the quiet ache of feeling unseen in a crowded room, the slow fatigue of pretending everything is fine when it isn't, the grief of watching a dream take far longer than expected or slip away entirely despite every effort. Divine, hold them gently tonight. Let them feel less alone in this exact moment than they did 5 minutes ago. Let this prayer be proof that someone somewhere thought of them tonight and asked for their healing by name, even without knowing their actual name at all. Heal the connection between body, mind and soul that stress and struggle so often fracture, so that each part starts working against the others instead of together. Let my body trust my mind again. Let my mind trust my soul again. Let all three move together instead of working against each other. Exhausted and out of sync, each one waiting for the others to fail first. Weave me back into one whole person instead of 3 tired fragments trying badly to hold each other up. Grant me patience with my own healing process. It rarely moves in a straight line, and I confess I grow discouraged when I take 2 steps forward and 1 step back, when a good week is followed by a hard one for no clear reason. Remind me that healing isn't linear, that setbacks aren't failures, and that showing up again after a hard day is itself an act of enormous quiet courage that deserves more credit than I usually give it. Grant me the humility to ask for help, from doctors, from therapists, from friends, from you. instead of believing I have to carry this entire recovery on my own strength, as though asking for help was somehow a defeat. Grant me small mercies along the way, the kind that are easy to miss if I'm not paying attention, a good night's sleep, a pain-free hour in the middle of an otherwise hard day, a moment of unexpected laughter that catches me off guard, a friend who checks in at exactly the right time, as though they somehow knew. Let me notice these mercies instead of letting them pass by unacknowledged, because gratitude itself seems to be part of how healing quietly takes root and grows. And for those tonight who are not praying for themselves, but for someone they love, a parent watching a child struggle with something they can't fix, a spouse sitting beside a hospital bed hour after hour, a friend who doesn't know how to help but refuses to leave anyway, sacred presence strengthen them too. Give them stamina for the waiting, wisdom for the moments they don't know what to say, and rest for their own bodies and minds so that they don't quietly burn out while caring for someone else. Healing is rarely a solitary journey, and tonight we lift up the quiet caregivers who rarely get prayed for by name, who give so much and ask for so little in return, for the ones who are healing from something they haven't told anyone about yet, a fear they're sitting with alone, a diagnosis they haven't said out loud, a private struggle they're still working up the courage to share. Divine, be gentle with them. Let them find in their own time the right person and the right moment to finally speak the truth. And until then, let them know that you already know, and that you are not waiting for their explanation before you draw near. Heal the parts of my soul that learn to distrust joy, that flinch a little even at good news, bracing for the disappointment that so often followed in the past. Teach me slowly that not every good thing is followed by a loss. Let me receive kindness without suspicion, receive rest without guilt, and receive love without waiting for the other shoe to fall. Restore in me the wonder I used to feel so easily at an ordinary sunrise, at the sound of laughter down the hall, at small kindnesses that used to catch in my throat before life made me a little harder, a little more guarded. Let me feel things again, without needing them to be extraordinary first. Let ordinary be enough. Heal the isolation so many of us feel, even in rooms full of people, the sense that no one would quite understand if we said the real thing instead of the polite thing. Give me the courage to be a little more honest with someone I trust, and give them the grace to receive it well. Healing rarely happens in complete solitude, and I ask you to bring the right people close at the right time. For the ones whose souls are weary from holding faith through disappointment, who have prayed before and not seen the answer they hoped for, who wonder quietly whether it's worth asking again. Divine, meet them with patience, not judgment. Let this prayer be one more honest attempt, not because the last one failed, but because faith is allowed to keep asking again and again for as long as it takes. Divine, whatever tonight's healing looks like, whether it arrives instantly or gradually, whether it's a full restoration or simply the strength to keep going one more day, one more hour, one more difficult conversation, let us trust that you are present in all of it, in every part of it, even the parts that feel stalled or stuck. Let us trust that you see what the eye cannot see, that you are working even in the waiting, even in the parts of this process that feel slow or unfair or entirely out of our hands. Thank you, Creator, for this breath still moving in and out even now, even after everything this body and mind have been through. Thank you for the body that has carried me this far, imperfect as it is, faithful in ways I rarely stop to appreciate on an ordinary day. Thank you for the mind that, even in its noisiest and most anxious moments, is still trying its best to protect me, still working on my behalf even when it feels like the enemy. Thank you for the soul that has not given up, even when everything else felt like giving up would be so much easier. Thank you for every small sign of healing already present in my life, even the ones I nearly missed, the friend who called at just the right moment, the night I finally slept through until morning without waking, the day the pain was a little less sharp than the day before it. I don't want to overlook these quiet gifts while waiting for a bigger, more dramatic one. Let me see the healing that's already happening. Even while I continue to ask you for more, we trust that this prayer has been heard, not because we deserve healing more than anyone else listening tonight, but because you are the kind of presence that listens to tired, honest people asking for help without pretense. We trust that our words tonight matter, even the ones we struggle to find, even the ones that came out as tears instead of language, even the ones we only managed to think and never spoke aloud. We trust that healing is already in motion, in ways we may not be able to measure or see just yet, in ways that will only make sense looking backward. Thank you for the people who have shown up for us along the way, the friend who sat with us in a waiting room, the stranger who offered an unexpected kindness on a hard day, the family member who kept checking in long after everyone else had assumed we were fine. None of that was an accident. We thank you for every person you've placed in our path to help carry this, even when we didn't recognize their help as an answer to prayer in the moment. Thank you for the resilience already inside us, the kind we didn't know we had until we needed it. Thank you for every hard day we already survived that once felt impossible to get through. If we made it through those, we trust we can make it through this too. One ordinary day at a time with your help and not entirely on our own. We thank you in advance for the healing still on its way, the kind we can't yet see or measure, trusting that gratitude offered early is still gratitude fully meant, still an act of faith rather than a report of results already in. Great light. Let this trust settle into me, the way warmth settles into a cold room, and slowly, but surely until every corner feels different than it did before we started. Let me carry this trust with me tomorrow morning, when the difficulties return and the healing feels distant again, when the old worries try to reintroduce themselves like uninvited guests. Let me remember on the hard days that this prayer still stands, that this asking still counts, that you have not forgotten me simply because the healing is taking longer than I hoped it would. We give thanks together tonight for bodies that are trying, minds that are learning, and souls that are even now quietly mending in ways we can't yet fully see or explain to anyone, including ourselves. And so, Divine, let this be our blessing as we close. May this body find rest tonight, deep enough to restore what the day has taken from it. May this mind find quiet, enough to let go of what it cannot control no matter how hard it tries. May this soul find peace, enough to remember that it is loved exactly as it is right now, not as it hopes to become someday, not as it was before all of this started. May healing move through us gently, not as a demand to hurry, not as a race against anyone else's timeline, but as a slow, faithful unfolding, the kind that happens even while we sleep, even while we wait, even on the days we forget to notice it happening at all. May we wake tomorrow with a little more strength in this body, a little more clarity in this mind, and a little more peace in this soul than we carried into today. And on the days that isn't true, on the days the healing feels stalled or absent altogether, may we still trust that we are held, that we have not been abandoned, that the process is still moving even when it's invisible to us. May we be gentle with ourselves in the in-between, in the space between where we were and where we're healing toward, in the ordinary Tuesdays that don't feel like progress but quietly are. May we stop demanding proof of our own healing every single day, and instead trust the slow, steady work being done beneath the surface, the way roots grow long before anything visible breaks through the soil. Holy Spirit of all things, stay close to every person who prayed these words tonight, and to every person who simply let them wash over their tired heart without saying a word back. Stay close to the ones healing from illness, the ones healing from heartbreak, the ones healing from an exhaustion no one else can fully see. You know each of them by name, even the names I could never say myself, even the names they haven't told another living soul. Let us rise tomorrow a little lighter than we lay down tonight. Let us treat our bodies with more patience, our minds with more grace, and our souls with more tenderness than we have in a long while. And let us remember, whenever the healing feels slow, that we are held fully, gently, and without condition, every single step of the way, from tonight until whatever comes next. Rest now. You are healing, even in this stillness, even though you cannot feel it happening. And you are not alone.